Hi guys, welcome to another video. This video came highly recommended. A lot of people wanted to know how I structured my SQE1 study, especially while working full-time. If this sounds like something you'd want to know more about, please keep watching. My name is Favor, and on this channel, I film about my SQE journey and tips to help people navigate the hard terrains of their career in the UK market. If this sounds like content you'd like to know more of, please hit the subscription button. Without further ado, let's jump right into the discourse of today. For those who do not know, the SQE stands for the Solicitors Qualifying Exam, and I sat for the SQE1 while working full-time in a role that had nothing to do with the Solicitors Qualifying Exam. So you can imagine how demanding the process was, but that's why this video is here to help you. To help you also structure your timetable. I'm going to be telling you what worked for me, what didn't work out quite well, and how you can also do better with your own study timetable. The first thing that I did was to set my expectations. I knew I was working full-time and my role had or has nothing to do with the Solicitors Qualifying Exam. It would be hard to take study leave. I knew I had to show up, and I also had to set my expectations early. As a result, I decided I was not going to sit for the SQE1 under minimal preparation, but I was going to make it a long-term goal. So I made the decision to sit for the exam in January of the following year, and this was sometime in March. So I knew I had about 8 months to prepare for the exam. I have an entire video where I break down the scope of the SQE1. Please check out for that video to understand the details. They both have about 7 subjects in all, so 7 subjects per FLK1 and 7 subjects in FLK2. So what I did was ensure that I was covering at least 1 chapter per subject per day per week. So no matter how tired I was, no matter how hectic my day was, the goal remained 1 chapter per subject per day per week. So I had FLK1, I'll run through the 7 subjects this week and then run through the next 7 subjects the following week. Because I was preparing within an 8-month stretch, it was easy for me to structure my reading this way. This might not be the case for you if you're studying within a short-term period. Some other people might not be able to do that and are better off reading through a crash reading program. If that works for you, understand what works for you and apply the method that best works for you. For me, the goal was not just to have a perfect routine, but to stay consistent. So this meant if I was studying on the train while coming back from work and being extremely tired, or on the train while heading to work and being extremely tired from the previous day's work, I stayed consistent to it. So consistency might look different for some people, but for me, having a long-term goal just meant it was easier to stay consistent. The SQE1 is tested in multiple choice questions, so I dedicated my time to practicing MCQs as often as I could during the weekends. One of the subjects I really struggled with was dispute resolution. Although in the exam, that was not the actual subject I realized I had difficulties in, but I digress. Once I realized I was struggling with a subject, I dedicated more attention to it, paid more attention to reading it, paid more attention to practice questions on them, and that really worked for me. It's important to also manage your energy. For me at that point, I didn't have any responsibility outside my day job, so it was easier for me to go back home and just focus and dedicate time towards studying for my exam. Some other people might have it in different situations. Some other people might be married, they may have kids that they have to look after, even in the course of preparation for their exams. So look for ways to really conserve your energy. This might mean waking up earlier in the day to start of your day studying and preparing. Whatever that means for you, please make it work around your schedule and conserve your energy. Because I started early enough, I was able to cover most of the subjects. In fact, I covered all of the subjects based on the resources that I was using. I was also able to attempt practice questions under exam conditions because I had sufficient time after concluding my reading of the subject. This is why I strongly recommend giving it a long-term approach, especially if you want to get the best results. If I could do this all over again, what would I do differently? There are 3 main things that I would do differently. I think the first point is I would make notes. I'll start to make notes early. I realized that as the exam drew closer, it wasn't enough to go over the textbooks because what you needed at that point was high-yielded notes. And big shout out to Devil's Advocate, because Devil's Advocate is one bank resource where you can find high-yielded notes that are extremely relevant. Think of Devil's Advocates like key points. It gives you the straight and the actual key points that you need. And they have a fantastic application that you can download on your phone and have it in your mobile pocket. So think about having SQE1, the entire syllabus condensed into high-yielded notes that you can access at any point in time from anywhere on your phone and on the app. I strongly recommend downloading the app or using the link in the bio to get a discount on some of their products and services. The next thing I will do differently is start practice questions as early as possible. I did start practice questions early, but I started practicing questions, I think, when I had almost reached the middle of the syllabus per subject. And I feel like that kind of delayed my ability to actually see that I wasn't understanding some things as much as I thought I was understanding. And it also made me realize I was forgetting some things. So because I started reading early, I'd forgotten some things that I'd read way earlier in the year. So I think starting practice questions would help ground the knowledge that you think you have. One other thing that I would do differently was forcing myself and worrying about finishing the syllabus. At the end of the day, one of my biggest realization was it wasn't about how well you were able to finish the syllabus, but how grounded your understanding was of the concepts and the principles of law that were being tested. Final thoughts from me to you. The SQE1 is a very, very hard process. I will not lie to you, but it's not an impossible one. This is where support systems and structures come in. Thankfully for me, I'm a person of faith, so it was easier for me to turn to God even on days that I felt weak and my strength was failing me. It was also easier for me to find support in the comfort of family, friends, and loved ones. I jokingly say it, and I say it all the time. Everyone around me knew I was taking an exam. Even my colleagues at work knew I was taking an exam. Some didn't know the gravity, but they all knew I was taking an exam. And as the exam drew nearer, it was easier for me to tap into my support system and get all the necessary supports that I needed. You really can't do this on your own. So if you're someone like me and you were working or you're working and you're also looking towards sitting the SQE1, it's very, very important that you have a support system. This could be people who are taking the exams or just your friends and family and loved ones. We have come to the end of today's video. I hope this video helped you in one way or the other. If it did, let me know in the comments, share with anyone on their SQE journey, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I will definitely see you in the next one. Bye for now.